Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're talking about the best alternatives for Yu-Gi-Oh's expensive staples. This is an article on TCG Player by Zachariah Butler. I wanted to attribute the person who wrote this. This was published 3 days ago. You may have already read this. I'm not going to just be reading the article for. I'm not just going. These cards can keep you competitive without draining all of your duel dollars. Hello again, duelists. I'm not doing that. Okay, we're just gonna look at the best budget alternatives for Yu-Gi-Oh's expensive staples, and we're gonna kind of use this as sort of the spine, and we're gonna add like the meat and the skin, and I don't love this analogy, and the fat. We're gonna add all of that to this, because this was something I was gonna do a video on already anyway. So Zachariah Butler beat me to it. So there's no reason not to work in concert. So like I said, I wanted to attribute one more time Zachariah Butler, TCG Player, best budget alternatives. You can read this article yourself for full. I will have a link to the article in the description as well. But without further ado, let's jump into it. Right, starting with Forbidden Droplets, and what kind of cards could you run instead? Now they have Forbidden Chalice here. I don't really love the idea of Forbidden Chalice as your Forbidden Droplets replacement. And here's why. Chalice hits one card. And I know potentially, and we're getting this set up for what I'm about to talk about next. I know potentially Chalice can, Droplet can negate one monster, so it can drop Chalice. Chalice only hits one card. Chalice is not, you shouldn't think of Chalice as your Forbidden Droplets. You should think of a card like Dark Ruler No More. Now, the thing with Dark Ruler No More is that people have been wise to the act for quite some time, and it's going up in value. Because I still see there's 423 copies at $8. That's good. It's gonna take a very long time for that card to go away. But I do still go, like when I go to Meijer, when I go Walmart, I go Target, even when I go to my locals, the structure deck Spirit Charmers. And if we just look at this real quick, in a minor side tangent, Veilers are in this as well. Raigeki is in this. Twin Twister is in this. Cool little super rare tokens are in this. Um, Spellbook of Knowledge is in this. Secret Village is in this. Dimensional Barrier, that's another really good card. Solemn Warning is in this. Metaverse Terraforming, if those cards ever come off the ban list. Those cards are in this. Fairy Tale Luna is not a terrible card. Danko Seka is not a terrible card. Book of Eclipse. Actually, while we're here, for those unaware, Forbidden Droplet replacements. And that's the main thing I wanted to do. The main thing I wanted to do with this article was talk about it and bridge off and talk about different things. I don't love Chalice as a replacement, but I actually kind of like Swords of Concealing Light and Book of Eclipse. Book of Eclipse says change all face-up monsters on the field to face-down defense position monsters. During the end phase, change as many face-down defense position monsters as your opponent controls as possible to face-up defense position. Then your opponent draws those cards. So because of that draw clause, this card has kind of seen itself slide out of side decks, slide out of the meta, because there are cards like Dark Ruler No More, like Forbidden Droplets, like Lightning Storms, like Swords of Concealing Light. Swords of Concealing Light, which has a bunch of versions of it, and you can literally take your pick. This one from the Sacred Beast that just came out. Destroy this card in the second standby phase. The activation wins card resolves. Change all monsters your opponent controls to face down defense positions, and they cannot change their battle positions. So you have literally, so that's two options that in some cases are better than Forbidden Droplets. Now, obviously, Forbidden Droplets has the clause, and so does Dark Ruler No More, which is why Dark Ruler No More is by and large the best. It has the clause, opponent can't respond to it. Your opponent can Salvage Dragon this. Your opponent can Salvage Dragon the Book of Eclipse, or the Forbidden Chalice even, right? Or they can use their negate or their pop still anyway. But if this is able to resolve, or if a Book of Eclipse is able to resolve, or a Dark Ruler No More is able to resolve, you kind of just win the duel, right? So while we're here, I did just want to bring up the structure deck is bad, but the cards that are not, like the reprints in the structure deck are good, if that makes sense. And they're almost good enough to make the structure deck good. And Dark Ruler No More is a big reason why. Now, when Dark Ruler No More gets its next reprint, which who knows when that's going to happen. The structure deck Spirit Charmers is going to go down in value, but we do see structure decks usually maintain their value over time. Just something to keep in mind. Next, as we slide on down here, Pot of Prosperity is not getting a reprint anytime soon. So let's take a look at that. Now, there is a card, there's one more card, and maybe he might talk about this, the other card. It does not. Okay, that's okay. So Pot of Extravagance, Pot of Desires. Both great options, right? Especially Pot of Extravagance. Pot of Extravagance just got the reprint. Actually, real quick, we'll just look at this market price because there's a lot of reprints of this card. So this card's gonna probably maintain that $30 to $20 value for a while, right? Pot of Desires is interesting. You kind of have to have a deck that can run Pot of Desires, right? But Pot of Desires, the thing with Pot of Desires versus Extravagance and Prosperity, first thing is obvious, is that it doesn't hurt the extra deck, right? And it's significantly cheaper. You can get this one, Order of the Spellcasters, or the Sacred Beast structure deck that I was just talking about. Also has, so if you see that at your local store, right? This also has Pot of Desires, $2. It's a probably just common, right? The fact of the matter is that it doesn't hurt your extra deck at all. And Pot of Prosperity does, and so does Extravagance. But it does hurt your main deck, and that could end up costing you. And a lot of times I have seen Desires' effect do that. Now there's one other card, and you may already know this. It depends on how long you've played. There's one other card that says draw 2 on it that's legal, and it's Pot of Avarice. Now, Pot of Avarice is simple. It says target 5 monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them all in the deck, draw 2 cards. So it doesn't hurt your main deck, doesn't hurt your extra deck. Now, obviously, it's circumstantial, and a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck. Look, I'm looking at Tri-Brigade, even Sword Soul, Flow Andries obviously can't run this card. I'm looking at Drytron. They could kind of run this card, to be honest, but they kind of don't want to. But that's like the meta, right? That's not Rogue. There are some Rogue decks that could get away with Pot of Avarice. Like I look at Shaddolls, for example. I don't really see the issue with running Pot of Avarice in Shaddolls, for example, right? And because, too, the thing about Pot of Avarice as well, got to keep in mind, it says target 5 monsters and shuffle them into the deck. So that's main or extra deck. So if I'm spamming out my extra deck, I'm looking at you, Salamangreat. I've been running Pot of Avarice and Salamangreat, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I don't know if it's on the deck profile I posted to this channel, but I absolutely love Pot of Avarice and Salamangreat. And I love Pot of Avarice. I love Pot of Desires. I love Pot of Extravagance as Pot of Prosperity reprints. But I will say this, Forbidden Droplets, Pot of Prosperity, they are better. There's alternatives, but they are better than alternatives. I kind of gave away what the next one was. Lightning Storm is still all the way up there. Let's just talk about Hey Trunade for a second. Hey Truanade's a fun little card. Return all set spells and traps on the field to the hand. But the only reason I wanted to talk about Hey Truanade is because of this card. RIP this card. Return all spells and traps to the field. Because Hey Truanade, because a lot of times people complain about erratas, like Dark Magician of Chaos, the Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon, a lot of different erratas like that. And so with Hey Truanade, Konami decided, instead of erratating Truanade the way it should be, they decided to just print Hey Truanade, which is funny. It's the only reason I want to bring up this card. But definitely Hey Truanade, Dark Ruler or Dark Hole, Raigeki. Like I was about to say, Dark Ruler no more. Like board wipes. Like that's the thing. Like Swords of Concealing Light can be a board wipe if you work it the correct way. You're able to completely out your opponent's board that way. And there's also Harpy's Feather Duster. Everybody's probably already running that card because it's at 1. And I think that if we're looking at just spells and trap removal, there's not a lot of great cards like that. That's why Lightning Storm's so great. Like there are like Swords of Concealing Light, Book of Eclipse, Dark Ruler No More, Raigeki, Dark Hole. A Flash of Forbidden Spell. 1 second. Some of you might not know this card exists because you don't play Duel Links, and I don't think, there's not a reason for you to know this card exists. Flash of the Forbidden Spell says, excuse me, activate only when all of your opponent's monster card zones are occupied. Destroy all monsters on your opponent's side of the field. Now, this is a really old card. I don't know if they have to have a monster in the extra deck zone to activate this as well. I could Google that, but I'm not going to. But this is a 15-cent card. Something to keep in mind. But for spells and traps specifically, it's kind of like it's kind of a weird spot because, yeah, hey, True and Nade, like the article says, it's kind of a joke, but it is kind of not. And the thing is that we haven't seen a lot of back row heavy decks in the meta, so we don't really think about it too much. But we're very close to having like a lot of like I just mentioned, Salamangreat, Eldritch, Altergeist, just like Inspector Borders, Stun. Like we're very close to having like a lot of like set 5 and pass type decks. And a card like Lightning Storm, Hey True and Nate, Harpy's Feather Duster is going to be very good as long as we're not getting Heavy Storm back. So it's just something to keep in mind. Red Reboot's another good example. Twin Twisters, Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twisters. Where was Twin Twisters? Twin Twisters was in the structure deck that this came from. Man, if I see that structure deck today, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. If I'm at Meijer or Walmart, I'm going to get that structure deck. Because the last time I went there, it was at like a reduced price of like $9, which is exactly what this is. That's what I love about buying from Meijer and Walmart, is that they do that reduced price stuff. That's really all that's there for the article. There's other cards too, like Access Code Talker, Borrelsword Dragon, or there is Crossout Designator, Called by the Grave, or Cyframe Gear Gamma. Kind of also does a little bit of what Crossout Designator is trying to do, right? And in almost every circumstance, your replacement for your expensive cards are not going to be as good, but they could still be very effective, right? So go ahead and check out the article by Zachariah Butler. Read all the reasonings he's got for the cards that he put here, right? And also leave a comment down below. What card have you been hesitating to put in your deck because it's so expensive? Does that needs a replacement? Let me know, and I'll respond to those comments and let you know what staples there are. Because there's cards like there's people, if you know, you know, if you don't know, you don't know. You probably didn't know the Flash of the Forbidden Spell existed before I mentioned it just now today, right? So like, if there's any card, odds are if there's any card that you have, I could probably think of, because that's what I like to do. I don't love dropping $1,000 just to play Yu-Gi-Oh. It's a kid's card game, you know what I mean? And then I gotta pay $5 for the entry fee. I gotta get the play mat. That's gonna be $20 to $30 or $50 depending on which one I get, or $200, right? So I'm trying to play this game as budget friendly as possible, and there are budget alternatives for Yu-Gi-Oh's expensive staples, and I want to help you guys out. So let me know in those comments down below. Click that like button to show your support for the channel. Subscribe for even more content, but most importantly of all, honestly, just have a good day.